that are willing to put everything on the line for their religious beliefs. But this is not out of character for people in our country. Men and women who have stood up, who have stood the test of time, saying this is important to us, and we're not going to check our beliefs out at the door of our church or at the place of worship. We're going to take those principles and those beliefs into our daily lives, and we're going to live those things out. And it's quite admirable. And so I think it's incumbent on all of us to understand what is at stake in America, stand united with these, and make sure that our convictions and our freedoms are upheld.
Imagine spending months constructing an elaborate legal argument only to have a federal judge compare it to the magic bullet theory. That is exactly what happened to Josh Duggar inside a federal courtroom. And the judge did not hold back. Everything discussed in this video comes from public court records, verified news reporting, and official legal documents. This is not speculation. This is what actually happened on paper. Now, if you know the name Josh Duggar, you probably know the broad strokes. Eldest son of the Duggar family, stars of the long-running TLC reality show 19 Kids and Counting. The family built their entire public identity around conservative Christian values, homeschooling, and wholesome American life. Josh was the face of that brand. He even worked as a lobbyist for the Family Research Council in Washington, D.C. Then the whole thing collapsed. In April 2021, Josh Duggar was arrested on federal charges. A federal jury found him guilty in December 2021 of receiving and possessing child sexual abuse material. On May 27, 2022, he was sentenced to 151 months in federal prison, 20 years of supervised release, and ordered to pay over $41,000 in fines and assessments. He has been incarcerated since. His projected release sits somewhere around 2033, but here is where this story takes a turn that most coverage has not fully unpacked. Josh Duggar did not go quietly. While sitting inside FCI Seagoville, he began working on a legal maneuver called a motion to vacate. This is a formal request asking a court to throw out a conviction. It is a legitimate legal tool. Prisoners use it. But it comes with strict procedural rules, strict deadlines, and a specific process you are required to follow. According to court documents, Josh had a deadline. He needed to file by June 24th, 2025, miss that date, and the motion dies before anyone even reads it. Here is the part that matters. He missed it. By a lot. The first copy of his motion arrived at the U.S. Attorney's Office on July 29th, 2025. That is 35 days late. The second copy addressed to the court was not received until August 18th, 2025. That is 55 days after the supposed mailing date. Now there is a provision that exists for incarcerated people called the prison mailbox rule. Under this rule, a motion counts as timely if the inmate placed it in the prison's legal mail system on or before the deadline. It is a fair rule. It accounts for the fact that prisoners cannot simply walk to a post office. But it requires one thing. You have to use the official legal mail system. If Seagoville has that system, it is documented. It creates a certified mail receipt. It creates a tracking record. Inmates are informed about it during intake. It exists precisely for situations like this one. Josh Duggar chose not to use it. Instead, according to his own testimony, he dropped his motion into the regular inmate mailbox near his cell, the one collected by other inmates, the one with no documentation, no receipt, no tracking. And then his story got complicated. He testified that he obtained stamps from another inmate because he could not produce a receipt for purchasing them himself. He placed 5 stamps on one envelope and 14 stamps on the other. He claimed 5 stamps was the correct amount. The envelope with 14 stamps actually arrived with postage still due. The judge noticed that. So if 5 stamps was correct, why did 14 stamps come up short? He testified that prison staff violated policy to make extra copies of his motion for free. He could not explain sequential page numbers appearing across both copies, numbers consistent with them being printed together rather than photocopied separately. He could not explain why one envelope showed no evidence of ever having been mailed at all. And crucially, he called no witnesses. Not his wife, Anna Duggar, who had been helping him prepare the motion through months of correspondence. Not the staff member who supposedly broke the rules to help him. Nobody. The judge laid all of it out in the ruling, point by point. Coincidence by coincidence. The language used was striking. The court noted that it could accept one coincidence, perhaps 2 or 3 odd happenstances. But what Josh Duggar was asking the court to believe resembled something closer to a sequential chain of events that defies common sense. The ruling stated plainly that his testimony was not credible, the motion to vacate was denied, no certificate of appealability was issued. That means he cannot challenge this ruling on appeal. The legal window is closed. This is the part that most coverage glosses over. This was not just a procedural loss. A federal judge sat through his testimony, reviewed the documents, and concluded that his account of events simply did not hold together. That finding matters beyond this case, because it tells us something about the strategy. For years, people close to Josh Duggar have operated as though persistence and confidence substitute for evidence. His legal team filed motion after motion, hundreds of pages of argument. He sat on a witness stand and told a story about stamps and inmates and policy violations and timing that all somehow lined up perfectly in his favor. And a federal judge said no. As of today, Josh Duggar remains incarcerated. His projected release is still years away. The fines and assessments ordered at sentencing reportedly remain unpaid. There are no remaining legal avenues from this particular challenge. What makes this ruling worth paying attention to is not just the outcome. It is what it represents. The legal system looked at a carefully constructed narrative, tested it against documented facts, and found it wanting. Every unexplained detail, every missing witness, every convenient coincidence was cataloged and weighed. The conclusion was straightforward. When you build a story on a foundation of things that cannot be verified, you are not making an argument. You are asking someone to trust you. And this court decided it had no reason to. The story of Josh Duggar has always been about the distance between the image and the reality. That distance has now been formally documented by a federal judge in plain language. Whatever comes next, that ruling is part of the public record. And it is not going anywhere.